Okay, so what we're going to do this afternoon, I'm going to go through a little bit more blah, 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 and then I'm going to show you about a bazillion pictures. Okay, because I think y'all kind of salivate every time I put up another new shot. And this is going to go to your concern about accessing the general ed curriculum. And so I think that some of the pictures are going to help you to start putting it in. Oh, there's an idea. Oh, okay.
Your math idea is great.
Well, I got others. Nothing up my sleeve. So I will show you those, and then I have a couple of other things that are in your packet. And here's what I'd like to do, because I can talk all day long, and then some, but I think that you guys might need a minute to talk to each other and kind of wrap your head around. And there's a couple of things I want you to think about. In your packet, you have 3 sheets, and I could access mine, couldn't I? In there are a few sheets that you might find. When I talked this morning about knowing your child, knowing your learner, there are these informal visual skills inventories, informal auditory skills inventory, and informal tactual skills inventory. They look like this. And these are just little worksheets that might help you to know your learner just a little better. Okay? So that's that learning, know your learner. This is environmental objects without sound. So this is the visual one. The child sees toys, furniture, all that. What he does to let you know the object is seen. So it's kind of this is what he sees, this is how I know it. This is what he hears, this is how I know it. And this is something that you might start off with, but you might really want to go to your team and say, look, we need to maybe look at some of these and do some of this, because I think that that's going to help us figure this kid out. Okay? Because truly, if you can figure out those things and how their little head works and how their mind works, I think it's going to help you in designing the instruction. If you know that he only sees from this angle and all that good stuff, that really is going to help you, but you got to know that stuff. Your TVI might know that. There might be a functional vision assessment somewhere in their things, and those are wonderful, but I need it in English, please. So TVI, could you tell me? Give me the down and dirty, the Reader's Digest condensed version, and how can I make that happen with instruction? Does that make sense? Okay. The other thing, and this is where I would like for us to spend just a tiny bit of time this afternoon, and that's planning an experience book. And I'll talk a little bit more about experience books, but I've got 2 things in here. One of them is planning an experience book, and the other is planning an experience. Because I don't think that we think about that as much as we should. And I thought about it for a while, and I really got into concept development and all of those things. And in my head, I go all kinds of fun places. And I was getting ready to go someplace else, and I started really thinking about that stuff and thinking about, my husband and I have tried to start doing walks. And I prefer to go out in nature and do my walks. I don't want to do it in a track. I don't want to do it in a gym. If I'm out in the woods, I'm a happy, happy girl. So I started thinking, well, anyone can have an experience. We all have experiences. And you go to the beach and you take lots of pictures and you have that experience, and you can go back and you can subject people to your thousands of pictures. or whatever, but you have a way of categorizing it, you have a way of showing it, you have a way of thinking about it, right? And you have those memories, but you also have the language that goes with it. Some of our learners don't have that. And I've seen it time and time again make a difference in kids' lives. The light bulb goes off. But those experiences have to be things that they do. And then if they have the tactile representation, the actual concrete, here it is, and I can touch it, feel it, lick it, smell it, mouth it, whatever I need to do to see that, but I can also take it and show it to my mom. Or that's a way we can have conversations. And so some of that, what we're going to do this afternoon is talking about those things. I'm going to show you some examples. And then I'd like for you, if we have time, and if we don't, that's okay. I'd like for you to think about these, the designing an experience and planning for the experience book that goes with it. Because ideally what you do is, an experience can be anything in this world. But you got to think it through, and then have the tactile representations for it, and then you work with the kid lots of times to put that in some kind of format so that they can have access to it. Because what happens is we do things with kids, but then they have no way of expressing what they did and how they did it, and to tell others about it. So that's where we're going to go this afternoon. Like I said, and if I skip through some slides, it's because, whatever. Okay? Because I think that this is a better use of your time. I'm going to talk about I've got scads of pictures. So you are going to be really happy, and I'll try to get out of your way. Oh, well, there you go. There you go. Oh, my rear. Oh, that's great. No, honey, you don't. Okay, so let's get this party started. Effective literacy instruction starts with that motivation. And like I said, those experience books, that's motivating. It's very motivating for kids. And you know, that can be at any age and stage, I really think. Because what I did with my nature trail is my dad was a forester. And I particularly love trees. They're just my thing. And look at that tree. Look at how it's shaped. I get really all into it. So I took pictures of a lot of trees because I thought, if I'm walking down that trail, this time I might focus on trees. The next time I go, I might focus on the lake that's right there. The next time I go, I might focus on flowers. The next time I go, I might do. So it doesn't matter. There are different concepts that can be developed by doing that same trail walk. It's just a matter of what I'm honing in on. And that's true for all of us. But that's especially true for our kids and concept development. And especially if they don't have the vision and hearing, they haven't had that incidental learning, then there are some things that you might point out. You might do the same activity over and over, but you're going to bring out different avenues of it. Does that make sense? Okay. So it's that motivation, it's that active participation. When you're doing those kind of experience books, then they're active in it. They're going to help you collect those artifacts that are going to go in that book. They're going to help you, they're going to figure out, they're going to collect that rock or that grass or that leaves or the dirt or whatever and make a nature trail book. And you can get baggies and you can put staples in baggies, and then as they're flipping through, they can open them, and here's the dirt, here's some rocks, here's some leaves, here's some whatever. So it can look all kinds of different ways. But it's all in how you put it together. Okay? Here again, I'm giving you permission to be creative. and what works for that kid. Because it's all so diverse, each learner is so diverse, you can't say one size fits all. It just, that's where we have that problem, right? You're also going to use multiple modalities, right? You're going to have to do that. And then the natural context. So you're going to use it in the context where it is. Okay, so in early emergent literacy strategies that are on the website, we're going to model reading and writing. That's one of the things that needs to happen, and in there it tells you how to do that. We're going to embed the use of objects and symbols and words throughout the day. You know, and I've had lots of conversations with lots of people, and some folks are hung up with, oh no, we only want to give him 3 words. Just 3 words, because we don't want to bombard him. We don't want to, oh, that's going to stress him out. Well, I say, if I gave you 3 words, what words would those be? You know? If we're going to limit them down to 3 words, dang, that's not nice. I say you're going to give them the words as you're going through the day. Because it makes so much more sense if you have the language that goes with what you're doing. Right? Now, am I going to expect him to know how to spell it and he can write it and he can do all of those different things? No. But I am going to expose him at first, and then I'm going to get him to gain some knowledge about it. We're going to unpack that puppy until he knows what that word means. But I got to get him there, and I got to think throughout the day. I have to embed it all throughout the day, right? And then I'm going to incorporate that music, play, and stuff. I'm going to provide opportunities for handling and exploring books. Teach print and book awareness, just that this is a book, it has meaning to your life. You flip the pages this way, you do this, you do that. I'm going to teach them names, name signs, or personal identifiers. Not only for me and him, but also others in the classroom, just like I showed you this morning. And then we're going to embed learning activities into those routines. So those are the things. So now we're going to talk about calendar systems. How many of you are aware of calendar systems and know them? Okay, some. Well, there are different kinds of calendar systems. And depending on the child, that's what you're going to use. So some children, and what we typically do, unfortunately, when we get on something, then we want to go gangbusters. And sometimes we go gangbusters when really where we need to do is back up a little bit, and let's start with anticipation. And that is kind of a, this is what we're going to do right now. When we're finished with it, we're going to put it in the finish box. That's the only part of his calendar he's going to have. And I'm going to do that throughout the whole day. So we're going to have this object, you're going to feel this object, you're going to taste it, smell it, lick it, whatever, but you're going to handle this object. You're going to know that that's what we're going to do next. We're going to do that activity, and then when we're finished, we're going to use that finish box. And remember the 3 times. Remember that routine thing I talked about this morning. We're going to embed that, but we're going to embed this calendar system because that's the tactual representation for what we're about to do. When we do that, that's a literacy thing. You're actually giving them, instead of a book or the written word or the whatever, that's their literacy. Think about it. That's how they know this means this activity. Does that make sense? Okay. Then you can go into daily. Sometimes you have to break it down to only the morning and then set up again for the afternoon. So, and that looks like different compartments, and you have different compartments or different cubbies or different whatever. And it depends on what you have, what the space you have, all of those things come into play. What makes the most sense for not only the kid, but you. Because you know, you got to work it. and it's got to work in your classroom, and you've got multiple kids to think about, and space is a high commodity, right? So we have to think that through. And so when you do that, then you also have the finished box. So you have different compartments that all look the same. So it may be the little Dollar Tree baskets. It should have defined space so that when they feel in there, they're not chasing around for something. It's there and they can locate the object. And you want them exploring that space to find that object. Then that represents the next thing. And then as you go through, then the finished box at the end. I told you I came from Kentucky, and we did accessing the general ed curriculum first. You're welcome. Well, in Kentucky at that time, every kid was supposed to be a writer. Now, they didn't care if they read. That's not true. But every kid was supposed to be a writer. And I am supposed to show that with my child, my student. So we use the calendar system, and the first thing we do is come in the morning, and we had all the different compartments. We go through it and talk about our day. Here's what you're going to do today. Then we go through the day, and as we're doing it, we would use those same objects, and we talk about it again as we were doing the activity. At the end of the afternoon, we would take the finished box, we'd talk about it again, and she'd pick 3 items. And I mass produced these. Now, this took a few years for me to get there, so don't panic, and you don't have to go home and over the weekend get this up and running, okay? Because it takes some time, and it takes some time to unpack it in your brain. So start small. Start with anticipation, see how it works, and build from that, okay? But at the end of the day, we would take that finished box, we would go through and talk about her day. She would pick 3 things that she liked about that day. We had a scrapbook. That was her journal. We'd glue it in there, and we'd write the text. Today is whatever, we did this, this, this. And then that could go home. And we didn't send it home every day, but we could send it home at the end of the week. And then Mom and Dad could talk about what happens in the day. That also keeps them from, well, I don't know what's happening with them. I don't get the notes home. I don't know, that panic, and they can't tell me what they did today. So this is a way for them to be able to share with Mom and Dad what their day was like, what they did. But they're using it, that's their journal. All the other kids were having to write in journals. That's how we did hers. So does that help you with your, how do I do this? Okay. Then, as they get really good, it could go into weekly calendars, monthly calendars, annual calendars. So let's take a little trip here. Whoops. All right, I talked about anticipation. It ties literacy with activities that are represented by symbols, time concepts, past, present, future, beginning and end, and left to right progression. If you set it up where here's the box, and then here's the finished box. So you're setting all those up. There's your literacy that's embedded into using this calendar system. Okay, so here is the actual object, and you start out with actual objects. Okay, and I can't really remember what that is, but I think it's her spoon, and it's attached, and they use that, and then here is the finished box that's right beside it. So we're going to do this, we're going to use it. Now, are we going to use that same spoon to eat with? No. But that's her tactile representation of. Okay? I think they have the rope around it because I think they put it around the neck to take to the to the cafeteria, so that the kid's not holding it and dropping it and holding and drop. Okay? Okay. Here's an anticipation calendar that has tactile symbol that's for a wheelchair. So here's the wheelchair thing. Over here's the finished box. This is mounted on like a little triangle, and it's got Velcro. So it's there, it's up on a slant board, it's time for PE. When it's over, Then here's your arm, and knock it over into the finish box. And the finish box is right there on the side of their tray. The blue is finished, so that is open. There's nothing in there. The red is the finished. You want it to be very different. These are the things you're going to do. The red one is finished. Comes back, takes it off, puts it in the thing. Now the other way you could do that is she gets the thing, she's got Velcro, and here's how I would do it. Let's say she's going to PE. Well, her holding this the whole time is not really good. She can't really engage in PE or music or whatever. So what I did was become very best friends with the janitor and said, do you mind if I put like a little piece of Velcro outside the gym door? So then they're taking it, that's that tactile reminder, and think about when you're stressed. We all love those tactile reminders. Oh yeah, I've got my keys in my hand, that means I'm going somewhere. Oh, that's right, I'm driving home tonight. And that's about where I am, people. But if you really think about, they've got it, and it's a reminder as they're going there. Now here's the gym door. I'm going to put that there, so then they're in there. And if I have taught the gym teacher what to do, then they could, let's say they exercise and then play a game. They could have a tactile representation for, here's our exercise, now we get to play ball. So that it's broken down for them in those things. These are the activities. You want to start doing it where it's everything you're doing, eventually. But at first, start small. Try it out. You're going to have to kick it around. You're going to have to play around with it in your head. You're going to have to get knocked down and it not work. But what did I say about failure? That's where you learn the most. Oh, what not to do. But a lot of it is trial and error, and it depends on the child. But start with what you can handle and then build from there.
You're
right.
Gym time is over.
Gym time is over. I've done here's the tactile symbol for it. We're taking it back, and now we're going back to the classroom, and here's the finish box. Which, thank you for reminding me, because I left that over there, didn't I? Here's those keys. There's no place like home. What?
Your kid's still in gym.
He likes it there. But do you see how that works? Where it's very much, this is where you're going. That makes it more concrete for them. That makes them start making sense of their world. Because right now, unfortunately, a lot of them, things are just happening to them. We act on kids all the time. We don't even think about it because we've got 15,000 other things going on in our head. And 15,000 other kids who have 15,000 other needs. So this is a way for them to concretely be able to, oh, this is what we're doing now. And then this, oh, now it's finished. On to the next thing. When you do it very systematically, and especially at first, I would only shoot for, I'd rather see you do 3 beautiful activities like that are very well done at first. And then as they do it, you're going to know when they put it in the finish box, there's going to have to be a processing time. You think about it. Every single day, you have some time in the day that you have to process in what happened today. It might be on your drive home, where you completely forget about your driving, but you're off in la la land thinking about your day. There's some time that you have to process. When we do very systematic instruction like this, we've got to give kids time to process. Now, I'm not saying you do that and then 3 hours later, oh yeah, let's do the next thing. But they need to kind of put it into their brains in the right way. And you need to unfold it, especially if you're doing it this way. Then here are the steps. As they did this, as we did it with Shelley, we started off small. Over the course of probably 6 or 7 months, she had a shortened school day because she was medically fragile. So the intervener, which is, do y'all know intervener? Intervener is a paraprofessional who is well versed and knows about facilitating communication and their access to information and access for the kid to things. It's a one-on-one, but more than a one-on-one, they have the skills and know how to do this, okay? So, and that's a whole nother workshop, not mine. Anyway, moving on. What was I even talking about? Oh, so at mid-year, I told the intervener, stop. She would start at the house, and she was medically fragile. She didn't eat. She had a Broviac deep line, and the mother would unplug her from all of that. And then the intervener would take her in, they'd bathe, they'd dress, and then they'd come to school, and then we'd start the school day there. So, and my school system was like none other in allowing that to happen. And it was a beautiful thing. But halfway through the school year, and when they got to school, they would walk in, go to the secretary, check in, and then they walk around the library, and my room was right there. So the building was like this, the office was here, and my office was over here. My room was over here. So I told her, stop. Let's see how much she can do. Let's see what she's doing. Well, the intervener got furious with me. But Shelley goes in, and she is deafblind. She is truly, she probably had some light perception. She had to have. But she walks in, goes to the secretary, goes over, gets the thing. Now, we are this close to her, so it's not like, hey, kid, go out and have a good day. She walks over. There's a glass panel there. As she walks out, she gets it, trails the whole thing, finds the hallway that's my classroom is located, goes in, goes to the calendar, gets the first thing, takes it over to where it's supposed to be. And I'm like, shut up. What are we doing here? Go on with your bad self. But she knew exactly what to do. When she got those symbols, then it was, oh, now I'm going down to the PT room. Oh, now I'm doing this. And she would take off. So it's that teaching that very systematically, and then knowing when you can let go a little bit to see what they're doing. See how many steps of it. Now, I task analyzed every single bit of that. And we had kept data on every single bit of that because I wanted to see. But it took, she knew her routine so well that she was able to do that independently. And isn't that my job? Isn't that my job to teach them to be as independent as possible? It can happen, folks. But the other piece is we didn't have that. I didn't have that luxury of having those things, so we made it up. You can still make it up because it is with these kids, it really, and especially at first, and when you're looking at object cues, you really want to think hard about that. And it's not what you see, folks. It's not what you see. You have to almost close your eyes and get into that kid's brain. And what is it that they feel? What is it they experience as they're doing these things? Case in point, the intervener would drive her car to school. On Fridays, we went on community-based instruction. We took my car. My car had electric windows, and she loved playing with that. It's usually going to be a seat belt. Maybe it's the seat that they feel. It's that, don't use the miniatures. Because that is not the same as what they feel and experience. They have no visual memory. They can't, it's not there. Don't do that. Go to where their head is. What do they experience? With Shelley, we would use, I found a toy that had a switch, kind of like my window thing. And I took it apart and glued it on there, and that was her way of knowing we were going on community-based in my car. I became a rag picker when it came to, if I saw something on the side of the road, oh, that could be an object cue. I collected all kinds of different things, but you have to stop and go to a different part of your brain. But at first, and it depends on the kid, you might have to start, and that's where that hierarchy comes in, where you may have to go with the actual object. So if it's a cup, I might use an actual cup just like the cup she's going to have in the cafeteria. And then I can pare it down to other things, and we'll get into some of that a little bit later. Okay, so, all right, so here's where it's expanding out to the daily count. So first we're going to be brushing, and then we're going to the center for rug, and then I don't know what that is, and we've already done the lotion. But all of these things down here are her cues. So there's a place where it can be accessed. She has access to it. With Shelley, I could never get her to initiate. Oh my, I worked and worked and worked on initiation. Well, we used a fanny pack as community-based. And in it, we'd put her object cues. Well, one Tuesday, we had it hanging up in the cubby right under her calendar system. And she's walking around the room, and she feels it, and she picks it up, and she hands it to me and starts laughing. This is 2 o'clock in the afternoon. She leaves at 2:30. I called the office and said, we'll be right back. And we went to my car. And we went to my house, which was maybe a mile away. And we went and got the mail out of my mailbox, because that was the first thing I could think of that we could do in a hurry. And then we came back. But that power that she had, you talk about strutting. The next day, she goes over and picks up the fanny pack. And it's like, hey. And I'm like, no, sister, we can't do that. But that's how powerful this is, that she was able to, hey, I want to do this. So that's why you kind of want to have them out here where they can get to it, because it may be that preferred activity that they'd like to do. Now, am I going to let her do it every time? No. But that powerful she's initiating, that made all the difference in the world for her. And it solved a lot of frustration for me. So you need to have those where they are, and at first, you really want to acknowledge, I hear you, kid, and we're going to do it. We'll make it happen. Okay? Same here. This one is with pictures, but there also are some things that are tactile, and there are some things that are actual pictures, and you could, and this is not what you would actually do. This was set up so they could take a picture. But over here, you see where it's got the line drawing and the picture. Sometimes when you're trying to get it from actual object to partial object, or from line actual picture photographs to line drawings, then you're going to have to pair both of them for a while so that they know, and then fade out the other one. So that's where that symbol hierarchy that I was talking about. And once again, here's her other stuff. And that was probably several kids, but here's a book. This is a binder. So this could be portable if you have a student that goes to your class, but then they go to another class, that then they go to another class. So this is kind of a way to make it portable. But we're going to the workroom. If you flip the page, then the next. It's got Velcro on it so that they can take it. A lot of times with those kind of things, I've seen large envelopes that they use to put the finished box. This is in a preschool calendar with the actual objects. So first we're going to have diaper, and then we're going to play, and then you have your bottle all finished. All of the things down below are there so that they have access. Okay, so with expanded calendars, you want to just continue the expansion. You know, you want to make sure, first of all, that they really understand anticipation. And if your kid is past that, that's great. If they can do more than that, wonderful. But you want to start off, if you're new to it, if they're new to it, start it there. But you eventually want to try to get it to longer. We never got past daily, and that's okay. We did fine. And she did fine. We didn't necessarily have to do. We probably could have expanded it to weekly and that kind of stuff, but we didn't. But here's how you do it. You continue the expansion. It still ties to literacy. It reinforces those concepts. So you're going to do it so that they are reinforcing, okay, you're not only going to do it today, you're going to do it this week 3 times, and in this month you're going to do it 7, whatever. It increases those organizational skills and the vocabulary expansion. And it's increased awareness of school and community activities. So the more that they're getting involved, it's no longer just about them. They're starting to figure out, here's my calendar, but others are affected and others are part of it too. Others come to these activities. Okay, so here's a tactile symbols for days of the week. We had that. That was the first thing we did every morning when we came to school. We did what day? Today is Friday. And we had a tactile symbol. Now, what they did, these have like little pipe cleaners around them. And then there are different textures for each day of the week. And then it's got the Velcro that you can stick up whatever on the calendar itself. But, we started it with today is Friday. And what I did, if you go into the teacher store and they've got the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and they have little designs. Well, I bought 2 copies, cut off, and then embellished the little design. And, really, what is Friday? Who made that up? Well, yeah, for some. It's payday, she said. It's the weekend, all those good things. But what is Friday to a kid? It means right now, it's so abstract. It really is such an abstract, but you need to have them know that. Why? Because today is Friday. I go to school. Yesterday was Thursday. I went to school. Tomorrow is Saturday. I stay home. I stay home. So it's that home and school, and it's a way that you can also, yesterday or today is Wednesday, tomorrow is Thursday, no school, Thanksgiving. So it's a way for you to explain. Or no school yesterday, snow. You stayed home. So it's a way for you to help them to figure out some days I go to school, some days I don't. So, and it's a tactile representation. It doesn't matter what the tactile is. What is, except if the kid is doesn't like certain textures, I would not use those. But it's a matter of you being consistent with it. Always using the same ones. Make sense?
Now, is that Velcro, the little white piece?
It is.
What do you stick to that?
I don't know. It wasn't mine. So I don't know what they did. I don't know why they did that. It could be that they put some kind of activity. You know how schools, elementary schools, Monday you have library, Tuesday you have gym, Wednesday you have this. I would imagine that's probably what they did with that.
But starting out, you could just do the textures
Just do the texture right now. Just do the texture. That is a higher skill to know that schedule. So right now it's more important that they understand. And like I said, I did school and home. And that's not true, because on Sunday we went to church is what I told her. We did, Sunday was church, Monday school, Monday through Friday school, and then church and home. So that she knew each day there was something different that happened. Okay? Okay, here's another one, and this one is more of that weekly with pictures. These have line drawings, which is a little higher skill than actual photographs. It's that hierarchy, remember? And on this one, today is Monday, and that's where we're going to the gym. Tuesday, we go shopping. Wednesday, we cook. Thursday, we go swimming. Friday, we do this, blah, blah, blah. So that's more of that, back to that school kind of, we do specials, those specials. Yes, ma'am. I'm going to mount it on something, and I don't know, there's that gold tacky kind of glue that I use. There's and now, yes, Eileen's, but there's now like E600 or something like that. Oh, that's some good stuff. Back in the day, we didn't even have that, but this stuff is good. What I would do is I had index cards, and I laminated the fire out of whole stacks of index cards. Because remember, I told you we used it in our scrapbook, in our journal. We used those, and so I had to mass produce them. So we had index cards that I would cut in half and we would laminate, and then we glue it on there. That way it's sticky. It's sturdy. And we could do it that way. But then we put Braille down on those. We put the printed word on there for the folks that could see, and then we put Braille down there for her for Braille exposure, much like I would label this with the back of for chair. Then I'm exposing her to Braille. Okay? Okay, here's just another. This one is a weekly calendar, photos paired with words, but you see the little picture frame kind of. And that's how they move through. And we're on this day, we're on Monday. On Mondays we do this. So it's a way for them to visually and tactually feel. And I would imagine this kid has some vision, or they wouldn't be using pictures. Huh. Okay. And they've paired it with words, and hopefully are going to be able to take the words off and then have the printed word eventually. So you're always trying to get to that next level. You may or may not make it. It's okay. Shelley never made it past tactile object cues, and that's okay. Okay, here's another one where this is a monthly calendar that's tactile, and then they've used, like the blue is last week, the red polka dotted is this week, and this is the day, that's kind of a koosball kind of deal. This is today. So that they're starting to learn about the days of the week. But it's also in tactile, and each one of these is different. Okay? And this is, once again, this is a higher skill. This is on down the road. I always have an uh-oh symbol. Always. Oops. Cause things happen. You can have your calendar system. Remember how I told you we'd start off and we talk about that? And we talk about the day? Well, sometimes things happen and you have to change out. So always have some kind of uh-oh. And it can be an X. This one has an X and they've done glue over it so it's dried and it feels different. And it's X. Uh-oh. So always have an uh-oh or a oops. And then a stay home. You stayed home. Some kind of, you were sick, you stayed home symbol. Okay. Embedding literacy learning. Find the name on the chair, cubby, write and stamp, match food items to labels, access to books, use items to read the lunch menu, use hand under hand to let them experience that writing. Okay, so now we're going to talk about adapting the book, adapting books. So there is modifying the book, the whole book, there's modifying pictures, and then there's modifying text. So those are the different ways that you might do that. Adapting books, here are some page turners. Because sometimes our guys have limited mobility, and sometimes they're not able to use a whole lot or use that hand to turn the page. You can use these kind of things, and they can be put on the side. So those clips can be put on the side. I could have them where there's one here, one here, one here, one here, one here. So each page, they start where they can turn the page using those. Okay? Sometimes it's even a paper clip with a little bead on it. It's something that makes it come out. Here are page turners, and that's exactly what I was just talking about. So over here are different page turners. I would probably use the same kind. You could do different ones. It depends on the kid, once again. But see how it's down the road. This one's the first page, second page, third page, fourth page, so that they're also able to do that. Here's adapting magazines. Because what teenage girl doesn't like to look at magazines? So why wouldn't our girls want to be doing that? But we're going to adapt it. So instead of having 1,500 pages, I might take just a few things out of there and highlight those so that they're able to flip and talk. And that's stuff that socially girls talk about, boys talk about. It's a way for them to fit in with the rest of their peers. They could have some really cool magazines that the other kids will want to see and have a conversation. So it's a way to bring them and have people realize, hey, they're kids just like me. They have feelings, they have thoughts, they have wishes and dreams just like I do. So it's a way for them to have those conversations. This is adapting a book or adapting some kind of magazine. These, you know. So instead of having all the visual clutter, I might cut it out and put it on different pages so that it's just one instead of the whole clutter that would be. All right, making books. You want to involve the learner. It promotes those language skills and the concepts about books. They come in different sizes, different shapes. We had some that were this big, some that were this big. It depended on what the thing was that we were doing. I had some that I used. What I did was go to a frame shop and ask the guy, hey, would you give me your scraps? I teach special ed. So then I had all that steady, sturdy cardboard. You know, the backings that they have, the matting. I had those, and then I'd cut it to sizes. And then it was something that could be kept. And then I used the 3-ring binders, those big ring clips, and put a hole punch. And then some of them had just one, some of them had 3, some of them we could put in binders. So there's all different ways to do it. And you want to promote different ways because there are different ways that we all learn and different things. We're exposed to different things. They contain the pictures and text, the pages, the cover and the author, and then the message to share. So where do I start? Let's start with object books. So they describe familiar activities and experiences. They introduce tactile learners to wonderful world of reading. And then they prepare tactile learners to track lines or to read dots. So you're starting to get them there, but they first have to know that this stuff here is important. It's important to you, it's important to others in your life. Concrete reading experiences that prepare them to move more into abstract symbolic stuff. Ideas for objects, sensory walk, making pudding, a trip to McDonald's, a spoon book, all about different spoons or forks or knives or whatever. Candies, a different candy book. Going to the doctor. You know, because I believe also, even if it's not something that they're dying to do, I'd much rather let them know this is what we're going to do. But then after that, we're going to do this. Because I don't like to go to the dentist either. But if I see it on my calendar and I know it, I can mentally, emotionally, and physically prepare myself to go. I feel the same thing about kids. They need to know what's coming up next so that they can emotionally and mentally and physically get themselves prepared. How do I decide what's best for each learner? With those individualized books like that, you need to think about the topic. What type of book is it going to be? What's the format? Am I going to do it on that 3-ring binder? Am I going to do it just with pages and pictures? Am I going to do it whatever? What's the content? What kind of material am I going to use? And what kind of adaptations do I need to make? So, with symbolic communication, we got to have those tangible symbols, right? And they help the object they represent, or they show that connection. So, we could have a line drawing, or this is the actual candy bar wrapper. And these are different actual objects, but they're pairing it with the line drawing so that they can start to understand that this brush can be represented with this tactile symbol, or this line drawing symbol. So you're helping them to associate what that means and pairing it so that they can understand, I'm going to take that away at some point and you're going to know that this means this. Okay? Abstract symbols have no physical connection. So that's that going back to that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. How else are we going to do? I always did like a spiky one for Monday. You know? And Friday had like swirlies and, you know, confetti kind of stuff. You know? It was like, woohoo, we made it through the week. You know, we all have to put our own little spin on things. Now, if you go to Texas website, Texas School for the Blind website, they have a whole system of objects. And they've done quite the stuff of, you know, background that has a triangle means something, rectangle on the back means something, circles mean people, you know, different things like that. You don't have to go all that. I would suggest if you're at like a school for the blind or whatever, that everybody get on the same page and everybody use the same stuff, because the kids go through everybody and it's just not fair for you to have a symbol for this and then somebody else has another symbol the next year. So it's really important if you're going to be talking consistency with, but if you're in your own little county, in your own little world, you do you. You know, you can go to Texas and look at their stuff. They've got some really good ideas, but no one will die if your symbols are different from theirs. Okay, so partial or associated. So this is a little piece of a spoon, and it's glued onto the back, and it just means eat. And that's, I think that's maybe action verbs or something. I don't know. Arbitrary cue, this means language arts, because what else? And that's like a triangle, it's a place, and then it's got the square and it's got like a poker chip. And that means language arts. Well, how else are we going to say language arts or math or whatever, you know? Once again, those things are kind of a little bit out there, so you got to kind of bring it in and make it real to the kid. Once again, the thing is consistency. Okay, so resources for early emergent literacy would be those experience books, concept books. So we had books about big and little. We had books about shapes. We had books about family. You know, dad, mom, brothers, dog, So we had all of those in a book about my family. Journals, sequence books or boards, story boxes, literacy kits, because literacy kits then, and I'll show you some examples, and writing activities. Experience books, they're going to represent the day, event, or activity. It can be sequential. You could also, I didn't necessarily, and I'm going to show you one in a little while, I didn't necessarily always bind my books and put them together. Because sometimes, or if I did, sometimes I'd take them apart and let the kid put it in the right order. So that's another way for you to know that they have it. How do I know that they really understand? If they can put their experience book or whatever in the right order. Helps them organize their world, remember or rehearse before they're going to do something, and then the print and braille can be added. Concept books, they explain and reinforce ideas and concepts. And they can be concrete, semi-concrete, abstract. You can do them about farms, animals, familiar objects, actions, colors, shapes, whatever. Spatial relationships. So, you know, it can be about anything. The sky is the limit. Your creativity is where it stops. So go out and play with it. Have fun. That opens up the whole world for not only the kid, but you. And it starts with you going, oh, you know, we could do a shape book. Let's try it. So it's just you opening up and thinking about it in a different way. Journals are individual and personal. It's usually about common activities that they've done. It could be talking about their routine, daily written entries. Remember, my object cues were what we used as her writing. She was writing in her journal. It also helps with memory skills. She was able to go through and flip and find a certain day. Let's say we had they bring clowns into the school that day, and we have something, she could go back and remember, oh yeah, that clown day. So that's a way for her to be able to express and show you that I'm thinking about this. Sequence boards or books. They're steps of a routine depicted by objects or pictures. So it could be a self-help routine. It could be steps to a work task. It could be a recipe. It could be all kinds of different things. It's that sequence, what's going to happen. Shared storybook reading, usually short books, repeating storylines. Book learner relates to it. Use prompts, objects, and props. Use gestures, sign. So you're going to do all of those kind of things with it as you're using that tactile representation. Okay? You can even have like smells and stuff. I don't know. Once again, I'd be cautious about that because people can go nuts. Storybooks, boxes, and literacy kits. So story boxes, that's just putting it in those little boxes from Dollar Tree or whatever where it has a container. You've got the book in it. You've got some of the items that go with it, or a bag. Sometimes they're in bags, sometimes they're in boxes. I've used shoe boxes to make those. It doesn't matter. Once again, it's just that there it is, and here's all the stuff, and then I can put it up on the shelf. Gives them multiple copies of the book, adapted for each learner. So if you've got a group, and then this one needs pictures, this one needs objects, this one needs whatever. It's the same kind of adaptation, same concept, same book, but you're doing it, tailoring it for each individual kids as they need it. You can also use switches with those, extend the activity out. Maybe there's like the pout fish. So you might do a little switch that says the pout fish and let them hit the switch when it comes to that part in the story. So you're opening up. You can find those pretty cheap now, the little recorders where you can do that. They can hit it, that kind of stuff. Okay, so here's one that's My School Day, and it's in a binder, and it's got a switch so that, and usually, as you well know, you would do like another little boy who would read the thing, my name is Colby, and da da da. And so it's what I do in My School Day. Here's like a snow where they went out on sled, and here's my family. There was snow. It was a snow day. We had so much fun. We went outside. So there it is with pictures and actual pictures of the event, plus then the line drawing pictures that depicted what we were doing. Here's going to the field trip. They went to a field trip to the library. So here's a picture of them giving their books back to the library. They returned with Jackie. So here I am going to the library and I returned my books. It's in a binder. So these are my day. This is what I did today. Break area stacking sequence. So here's a sequence of what you do. This is for an older student, maybe a student that's transitioning or of transition age, and you're getting them ready to go and do some work experiences and such. So you put away the napkins, put away the plates, put away the bowls, put away the cups. Those are your jobs, and this is the sequence that you do it in. And then put away the forks, spoons, knives, and straws, and then you're finished. So these are all the things that you need to do, but this is the order you need to do it in. This is Shelley's journal. And for a while we did go in, and those are the different things. This one stood for library. I think that was some kind of art activity we did, and that was, I don't remember. But we talked about it. Today is Friday. I had something. I can't even read that. But we did the text, and then we paired Braille for a while, but then we didn't after a while because it wasn't necessarily going, she was not going to be a Braille reader. But we did for a short while try at least giving her exposure to Braille. Okay, here's a story bag for home or for preschool where it's the so big. And so there's the bag that goes with it. There's the cup and the different items that might be used with the book. So, and it's just in a little bag. Here's Harry Potter. And so we have it was in a bag with all different kinds of things. We had the wizard and the glasses and the all different. Okay, this activity is, and this is a whole one. And this is an activity, I went to a state where they don't get snow very often. And this was at a residential school for the deaf and blind. And they do not ever get snow. Well, they had 6 inches of snow, and everybody was snowed in at home over the weekend. It's south, okay? We don't have the same...
We snowed in with 6 inches.
I live in Ohio.
You hardy people, you hardy people, y'all have it. I'm going to live in Tennessee. Anyway, this is a state that doesn't get very much snow, and they don't have scrapers. And so that makes a big difference when you have one scraper in the whole state. You're not going to get very far.
Visitor from Maine.
But, yes, well, go on and laugh at us Southern folk. That's all right. We can take it. They had had a week of snow. The whole state shut down. And so the kids were at home, and they were coming back, and they wanted some way to talk about snow and the snow day and all this other. So we came up with a snow cone, or making snow cones so that you could at least feel and all that. So we put together, and this was in a classroom. The kids had been together for 110 years. They were in this large table. They all sat around, And they all did like little work job kind of activities where they screwed bolts and did that. That's what they did all day long. They didn't even know that somebody was next to them. And they've been together for years and years and years. And so we were trying to convince them that, oh, you can do literacy. Wouldn't that be fun? Anyway, so we stayed up half the night and made this. So let me go back, I think. Okay, no. Okay, so what we did was we used the hard cardboard kind of.
Mat board.
Yeah, thanks. Mat board. And we cut them into the same size. And then we had the snow cone machine. And we used like the plastic crystal-y looking stuff that at the craft store. And no, this is not. It's more of a hard plastic little beads kind of thing. That's
Rock filler?
no, just like little plastic beads that we glued onto to represent the ice. Okay, on the and all right. So wait. Okay, so first we had our recipe. It's let's make snow cones. First we need to get our recipe and gather our ingredients. And we had different kind of learners in there, so we did it both textually and then we also used the line drawing. Now, let's put 3 scoops of ice into the ice shaver machine. Remember, that's that beading stuff. We turn the machine on. Next, we count to 15, and we use like the brats or whatever, and then did 15 so that they could touch each one of them as we were doing it. Now turn the machine off. Get the holder and the cup. Scoop the snow and put it in the cup. Now choose a flavor. And we had an OT working with us, and we got some scratch and sniff stuff and put those. So we had blueberry and cherry, I think. And so it was these little things on the front are scratch and sniff. Now pour it over the snow. Let's eat and enjoy. And then it's finished. So the way we did that was we went into the classroom, and at 10 o'clock that morning, we read that book. So we read the book, and it wasn't bound. It was all in a box, stacked up like that. And it'd start with the first student, and they got to feel it, and then the next thing, they had to give it to their person next to them. So do it to the right, so-and-so's there. They had to feel over, the person who's receiving had to feel and get the piece. They got to feel it, and it went around the table to the 6 or 7 kids. So we did that through the whole activity. And you talk about attentive kids who were going, oh my God, did my teacher die? Because this is so cool. That's bad. Anyway, cut that.
You didn't tell us where it was.
No, I didn't, and I won't. So then, after lunch, we went back in and did the actual activity. And when we did the actual activity, we used that as our recipe. And that's our steps. This is what we're going to do, each one of them. So each one of them got to come up and make their own snow cones. So they made their snow cones. And then, had we been invited back in that classroom, we could have done it again as a review. We left the snow cone maker and that book at that school. I wish I had that book because I'm sure it's up in some closet somewhere. But I'd love to have had that book just because it was an activity that you could do with preschool through high school. Everybody likes snow cones. It was also something that everybody could actively engage. It was sequencing. It was trying to figure out what comes next, how to do. And they were reading the book. So it's that kind of thing that you could use it in those ways. Okay, so here's some more. This is a frog. It says the Lord of the Flies. Oh, this is not at all what I thought it would be. Okay, so what I want you to think about as you're looking at those stages of literacy development, as you're looking through and you've gone and you've done the literacy skills checklist and you've thought about, okay, my kid's at early emergent, and these are some strategies. I also want you to think about these components. Now remember, we did not put phonemic awareness and phonics on the website, but we did do vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension. And it's important for you to remember that no matter what stage your learner is where they are in those stages, it's very important for you to always focus on vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension. And there are different sections on the thing. There's also a whole section on writing. So it's important for you to, no matter where they are developmentally, you want to go down and check out those others, because there's vocabulary no matter where you are. You want them to comprehend it. So you want to know how to know about comprehension, and there's a lot of really good little videos in the examples on the comprehension one. And then you want them fluent with it. So therefore you want them being able to use it. Okay? So always remember and think about that. Expanding literacy, this is where we're getting into vocabulary and all of those things beyond the core curriculum or state standards. Now, we remember sometimes we have to pair the objects. So you're pairing objects there with the actual object and pictures and the written word. So you're pairing and hopefully fading. Sometimes you have to use the actual objects. So you would use the box of fruit and oatmeal or wheat thins. You would use the cutout and use that as your object cue for the snack. Here's for Pediasure. Here's their recipe for how to do it. Get to Pediasure. So there's kids that, and a lot of charge kids still have feeding tubes and that kind of stuff, but hopefully they would get to the point where they could do it themselves and being able to, but this is kind of their recipe. This is how to get them started in doing. Here's Shelley's morning routine. This is the book, the first book where we knew, we're on to something here. And this was back in, oh my gosh, 1995. But, do what?
I was just thinking that's a board with the activities.
No, what this is a book. And remember how I told you I went to the frame shop and asked for matting? So we used those. We had the big 3-ring binder, the big clips for those. What this is just the front of it. It's Shelley's morning. And these are different items. She'd sit and flip it, and it was, Mom takes me off of my Broviac machine, and there was the little thing, and the clip, the tubing. And then here's Mom, she was all into earrings. So Mom's earring was like a little stud, and so we had that. Kim, the intervener, had some other kind of tactile cue. Kim comes in and says, good morning. You flip it. I go to the bathroom. There was a little piece of rug. I don't think I have all of, I do. I take my bath. So it took us a minute to think about how we could do the bathtub. But if you look, this is a piece of tile, and it's cold. And what do bathtubs feel like? Yeah, so that was a way for us to, this is my bath, but you see how it doesn't look anything like a bathtub. But it was much more about what she felt. Then I took the plug, I put the plug in, we have soap, and there's my wash rag. And then, okay, so going back to Shelley's, then it goes into, I put my clothes on, each clothing item, my shirt, my pants, my socks, my shoes, my hearing aid. I brush my hair. I say goodbye to Mom, and I go to school. So we made this with her, and then we had it in the classroom, and we read it to her. And then there were times that she would go over and get it, and she would flip through it and feel it and read it and just laugh, because it was all about her. It was all about what she did, how she did it, what happened, and she loved. That's when we were like, oh, books are powerful. Books can really help with her understanding. So that's where I first got into literacy development and even how to go about making this representation and stuff. So it was powerful. It was all about her. And for the first time, she had some way to tactually recognize a very familiar routine with herself. So think about that kind of thing and how powerful it is for kids, especially an All About Me book. Here's what I do. Here's how I do. I ride the bus. I say bye to Mom. I ride the bus. I get off the bus. I greet the bus driver. I ride the bus. It's bouncy, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter what it is, but it's their routine and what they do. And it's those simple routines that they do every day. And you doing that tactile representation or those pictures or whatever that helps to really seal it in that, oh, my life has meaning. Wait a minute. So I challenge you to try with different kids and think about how you could make it represent, and start with something really simple. You know, I would do something about the doctor's office. And that's
12 of them, we might as well.
Well, exactly. But don't you think he needs to know we're going? And this is where we're going. I mean, you could do different ones if, you know.
YouTuber, his hearing with his Baha.
Right. So you have all the different components, and ask the doctor. You have any, broken ones or whatever, be on the lookout, because I'm looking for it. And actually I need 2, because I need one for here and one for school. So it's just that way of tactually representing, this is what we're doing. What I would also say is afterwards, then we're going to do such and such. So it's not, I'm trapped in the doctor's office forever. You know? Okay, so provide the vocabulary, pair familiar objects with the print, and express an abstract idea. So help. It's just, and then that's the Big Mac switch. Okay, this is about a ball game. We hit the ball, we run, home run, great. So it's just, it doesn't have to be long and drawn out, folks. It can be real simple. I made one for about a softball game, going to see my sister play softball, and I used like corrugated silver stuff for the bleachers, because when you sit on the bleachers, they're that way. We go to the concession stand and I get a candy bar and a slushy, so I have the cup there and the candy bar, and we made like a plastic bottle with those rocks in them to make a shaker, and that was on Velcro, so we could pull it out and shake that. So it was, and that was something that they did all the time because they went to watch sister play softball. So this was what he did in the stands. So you see how it, you're going to take those things that they do, and you're going to make it familiar with them, but you're also going to give them some concrete way of being able to, that's what we're doing. Sometimes you might want to mask the page for easier visual processing. So that's just a black thing. You vision folks, Sometimes there's so much visual clutter. And so being able to do that is going to help them to be able to read their story or read words. Word bank. So all different kinds of word bank stuff. On Monday, what happens? And picking the different words that would go for sentences and such. His sentence structure, who does what are the verbs that need to happen, and what are they doing it and where? What are they doing and where are they doing it? Okay? So this is just them writing their own stuff about today is Wednesday, yesterday was, tomorrow will be. So learning that days of the week and which day it is. Here are 2 switches on the computer. So she has 2 different switches. She has a head one and then one with her arm. And that's how she's accessing the computer. Here's a book report wall. So it's with pictures and different things. It has just, let's talk about books. You know, if we had that little section over there that's all about me books and all that different stuff, or all, routines, familiar routines we do in the classroom, then we could also have a book report wall. So, Ruby, what'd you read today? Or what's your favorite book this week? And they could put it up there on the wall and somehow talk about it with their peers. Oh, you really want to read this book because it's about caterpillars or whatever. Okay. Practical reading options. I'm all about some menus. You go to restaurants and a lot of them will have picture menus or different things. You may have to ask and call the corporate office, but a lot of them have that representation. So you ask them, could you call your office and see if I could get one? I'm a special ed teacher. You'd be amazed at how many things you can get when I'm a special ed teacher. But I would start and ask them, can I have a menu? Can we, my kids, we're going to come to your restaurant. We'd love to, but we need to practice in the classroom before we get there. Because I want my students to be able to order for themselves. And the first part is, where's the menu? Recipes, I love to do recipes with kids. Using magazines, board games, you can adapt them like Cootie with the switch. Letters and postcards, who doesn't like that? I had a teacher who, they were studying corn in their 2nd grade classroom, and blind kids, actually deaf, blind, several other things. They were studying corn, so they wrote all these popcorn companies and asked if we're studying, could we please have some of your samples? They got droves and droves of popcorn.
It's still popping corn out.
They were like, if every time I'd go to that particular school like once a month, and every month they were like, oh no, 6 more companies sent us box loads. Do you want popcorn? And it was flavored popcorn and all this, and the kids were like, no more popcorn. So don't be, and they did, when they did their letters, they did them textually. So as Dear Popcorn Company, we are studying corn in our 2nd grade Braille class or whatever. And they would have like little beads of corn. They would have different textual representations that they sent to the companies. And you think that they didn't ship them box loads of stuff. So don't forget, use the kids. And that sounds bad. And maybe we need to cut that too. But don't be afraid to think outside the box about those kind of things. And that's powerful. They sent the letters, yeah, we made letters and all this. But then when they came back and all these companies were shipping stuff in, talk about power, and they couldn't wait. What's in the mail today? Sending cards and letters home. All of those, finding pen pals. So there are lots of different ways you could do that, but you can also textually represent those things. And it doesn't have to be all fancy and stuff. And then directions to complete a task. So how do you do whatever, and it can be done in that representation, in conversation books or journals. So here's a recipe, and it's all on Velcro. So here's a bowl, then we have the pudding, we need the measuring cup, we need the milk, and we stir. And then we could take off each one of those as we're doing it. So in my mothership, which is the daily calendar system, I would have a tactile representation of where we're going to cook. And then I come over and here's our recipe for the day. And then, like I said, each time we use one, then we take it off. Practical writing options. Letters, email, Facebook, shopping list, invitations, thank you notes, birthday cards, Valentine's. Who doesn't like to get mail? And that's something we don't get anymore. Not that kind of good stuff, right? Bills. And daily planners, recipes, homework, resumes, job applications, birthday or holiday list. So you want to pre-teach it, teach it and review. Introduce those objects early. And then identify the vocabulary and concepts ahead of time. What am I targeting? What do I want them to get out of this? Because you always need to think, what am I doing here? What do I want them to learn? Because sometimes we go into these things and we dive in and we're not really thinking about the lesson. And sometimes the lesson that we're teaching is not the one we want them to learn. Just as a warning. Think about how to teach or reinforce after you've done this. And how are you going to check for comprehension? All right, so I'm going to get out of here. These are a lady in Gwinnett County that she's the one that really, she sent me these and said, please do not give them out because I don't want them sold. Here's a tactile map of Africa. So you've got the sandy, the desert region, you've got the swampland, you've got the grassland. So you've got all the different of Africa. So somebody was saying something about South America. Well, there's a way that you could graphically, tactually show this is South America, right? Okay, here's categorizing animals, connects to vocabulary and science. So these are mammals. I think you'll find, here's where they classified in groups. So there's your graphs. So some are mammals, we have reptiles, we have birds, and we have amphibians. And then you have those graphs and how many do we study, how many this, that, and the other. You can do all kinds of things with this. Here's a coordinate plane game. So there's the coordinates. Remember that Common Core, those skills that you're worried about. Well, if they're doing coordinates, but they're playing it where the Y and the X meet, and then they get the letters, and then down below, they're going to spell out words. So they've spelled out vacation here, using 1 and 4 coordinates. So they're using those ribbons. So there's your higher level. There's, that's a high school skill. That's a high school standard. Middle school, high school. But you're using it in so many different ways, not just the numbers. You're also introducing literacy. You could use books, stories. That's the next one. So they use the different story to tell the story of whatever this is. I think this one's Treasure Island or something. Here's a tactile map, U.S. map that's talking about the mountains. So you have the Rockies, you have the Appalachian Mountains, but then it's also lined with, so it's tactually represented. Okay, here's Winn-Dixie, Leave It to Winn-Dixie, whatever that story. And so we have tactile adaptations, we have large print, photos in simple background, so they cut out all the visual clutter and stuff. They connect literacy with social studies, cognitive skills, fine motor skills. So they're using all of those and merging it in and teaching. You know, so you could say, where is this? You take your graphic map, your tactile map, and okay, where was that located? Blah, blah, blah. So here's more about the story. So you have the manager, you have the grocery store. They used a shopping cart. I don't know that I would use that. I probably would use some kind of metal something. I wouldn't necessarily use miniatures because, once again, they're not going to understand that this represents that thing you push. So you need to use something, be it some kind of plastic, hard. Think about what they feel with the shopping cart. What is it that they feel? That's what you're going to use. Okay? Here's the produce aisle. So they've used some actual objects, and then they've got the story. They've got pictures. They're pairing it with the words. Here's the map of where it's located. There's the preacher. There's bath time for the dog. Here's the trailer. Mom left home. There's the address. All the different components. Animal cage. So they've used a picture, they've cut it out, but they also have used some kind of tactile representation for the learners who can't visually see that. Okay. Animal cage. Here's more just different parts of the story that you can start telling the story, having them being active participants in, okay, can you put the guitar with the man? Where's the this? Where's the that? You get it? Okay. Flower garden. Whoops. Here's some food items. So it's just a different way of thinking about how you could tactually represent. Here's plenty more. Treasure Island. So looking at your different, what are your vocabulary? Instead of looking at the whole book, you're going to come down to, reducing it down to what vocabulary do I want them to know? What pictures am I going to represent? How am I going to get that contrasting background? So you're looking at all different things like that, but you're also thinking about your learner and just how much they need to know about this story. Okay? Math probability. If you're rolling the dice, how many times do you get 1, 6, blah, blah, blah. This is just a different way to do percentages, probabilities. Okay? So, literacy, discussing traits of a main character. So here you are thinking about, once again, you're looking at those standards, and it says traits of the main character, settings, those kind of things. This is how you could represent it. All right, here's the food chain. So it's different cans, and the rabbit eats the carrot, the fox eats the rabbit, the cougar eats the fox, and it all goes on top of each other.
And the bottom's cut out so that it's...
Yep. So that's describing the food chain. And you see that, like the fox, his tail is represented. He's got a, you could do the same thing with these others.
Looks like the rabbit has like felted ears.
Right. So you've got the tactile representation. Here's another food chain. So the bird eats the bird eats the snake, anyway, what everybody does. Objects, contrasting background, it has the tactile symbols, it connects the vocabulary, math, and science. And you're talking about the food chain or different things like that. Here's another science lesson where it's got objects, photographs, contrast, print. It connects to vocabulary, to science, concept development. So the sun, it it comes down, the farmer uses the sun to plant food. The insects eat the food, mushrooms. It has all the different kinds of science lessons, but it's represented textually. Here's a math probability game using the switch heads and tails. And then you could easily do charts that would graphically, you could do charts and graph how many times did we get heads, how many times did we get tails. Same thing with the heads and tails, and they've done the tactile representation with the quarter of the head, and then they used a little thing for tails. And how many times did it happen? So then you've got the little things, and they could easily then count how many times, 6 out of 10 tries. Okay, here's magnets. Which things will attract? So using a magnet, will it? Yes. So paper clips, yes. Locks, yes. Or the chip clip, barrettes, all of those, it will attract. It won't attract to cotton balls, a stick. I don't know why they have keys over there. A super ball, plastic spoon, and a cork. Some teacher was happy that night as they were making it. Okay, then comprehension. What's the plot? So there you're getting into your English language arts, plots, characters, different ways to do that. Physical change. If you have a daffodil bulb and you put it in the ground, flowers will grow. If you have popcorn, you put it in the microwave, you get popcorn. If you have the corn, put it in the microwave, you have popcorn. Bread, peanut butter, and jelly, make a sandwich. So that's the physical change, things, how they do. But you're bringing it to a level that they can understand. Analyzing fast food. How many people ordered hamburgers? How many ordered fries? How many ordered drinks? You can do all kinds of stuff with that. How many wanted chicken nuggets as opposed to fish, as opposed to hamburgers? Doing the class, if you're ordering and menus and that kind of stuff. How many hamburgers are on the graph? How many fries are on the graph? How many? And you could also do tactile representations of those also, instead of just the pictures.
You've got a parent going there and getting the food.
Well, or you have gone and done it, now you're coming back and you're gathering the evidence. Because we're scientists. So, you're using that opportunity to go out, but you're using it, you're bringing it and doing the review also. Who all order chicken nuggets? Whatever. All right, here's health and hygiene. So guys do these products, women do these products, and what are the things that they do in common? So there's your Venn diagram. Okay, so if you get a cut, you need to put a Band-Aid. If it rains, you need an umbrella. You have money, you can buy things. So that if, then. And that's also on some kind of voice output device that it could easily.
It's a plastic bag.
It's a plastic bag. No, it's actually just a piece of, because if you think about what do kids feel when they go and buy something, they feel the plastic bag. Maybe not much longer, who knows? Okay, nope, we're not doing that. All right, so, guess where we are?